Hey, Tyler. Well, first of all, rough day for the chips, but don't let Lisa Su's mild manner fool you. She's an engineer. She likes a tough fight. She came up in New York in the 70s and 80s.
I grew up in Queens. I went to Bronx Science in the city. So yeah, New York is still home for me.
Yeah, around the way we go. That's cool. So what got you interested in technology and science?
You know, when I was a kid, my parents were typical Asian parents, and they wanted us to do hard stuff. So it was, math and science, and that was the focus. And then, went to Bronx Science, did my science projects and all of those things. So that helped, really drive me into engineering.
Now, get this. When she was at Bronx Science, one of those years, 1984, Min-Jin Lee, the National Board finalist, and Jon Favreau, who does The Mandalorian, is in Iron Man and all that, they were there at the same time. It's crazy. Anyway, I've known Lisa a long time. That interview for my Fort Knox series was from 2016 when AMD stock was at a whopping $7 a share. Yesterday, I joined Kara Swisher on stage at the Code Conference here in California to interview Lisa, and we asked her what's next for chips. Two of the things she said: heterogeneous computing and M&A.
Consolidation is inevitable, I would say, particularly if you want to make a big impact, right? I mean, startups can do really cool things, but I have tremendous respect for these folks who start their own companies, but if you want to do something very large for the industry, scale is important.
So important for investors to kind of cue in on as well, especially in a rough market day like today. So that's the M&A part. But what's heterogeneous computing? Well, she talked about chips that are smart enough to turn on only the functions you need and only when you need them. That saves power, boosts performance. A lot of chips use a bit of this concept today, but chips like Apple's M1, which came out in the last year, take it to another level. And that's why the M1 MacBook Air is both really fast and gets 14 hours of battery life. So Lisa Su, the CEO who grew up figuring out hard stuff in Queens, wants to bring that power to the mainstream. And so you got to think about that on a day like today when you see the semiconductors getting hit hard, guys.
I'm fascinated by what she's pretty candid about deal making, John. Where should we be looking then? What does strategically, what would be the candidates there that she would be contemplating?
Well, broadly in semiconductors, part of what's happening right now is the hyperscalers in the cloud. So think about Amazon, Microsoft, Google Cloud, a few others, Oracle a bit. They are driving a move toward customization, meaning they don't want to take off-the-shelf server chips like we had in the client-server era. They want some influence into how that's being built. So, for example, Renee James, former president at Intel, she's got a company called Ampere that's focused on cloud purpose-built chips. So just talking to her last week, they do some customization. Marvell is doing a lot of customization, doing acquisitions in that space. So, investors should think about those types of companies that have both software and semiconductor technology and design that's going to be able to be flexible for customer needs.
Yeah, we just talked to Renee James, I think, last week as well, talking about some of the other issues in the industry. John, up close, I wish you could see how big your head was on set right now. If you keep...
Or maybe not.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get careful, be careful about getting a big head. So
yeah.
I'll have to come back so we can get back down to regular size.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.